spelen aan het strand. Daar de waterblommen bloeien in groene land. Daar de komen krieten, skrill in stwange roes. Daar is mijn los douwe, sneeuw in ouders hoes. Daar de komen krieten, skrill in stwange roes. Daar is mijn los douwe, sneeuw in ouders hoes.
Welkom, 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 welkom. Welcome to aliīs vōcibus with other voices, a series exploring lesser known and often misunderstood languages. Today we're traveling to the edge of the North Sea, to a chain of islands, marshes and windswept coasts where one of Europe's oldest Germanic language groups still survives. This is the world of the Frisian languages. First, let's clear up a few misconceptions. Many people have heard of Friesland. Some know the famous Frisian horses or cattle, but few realize that the Frisians are a people and that Frisian is not a language, but a group of closely related North Sea Germanic languages, still spoken in the Netherlands and Germany, and formerly also in what is now southern Denmark. What else is going to happen in this video? First, I'll briefly explain who the Frisian people are. Then I'll introduce the various Frisian languages in the present-day situation. Finally, I'll mention a few things that are special about Frisian, also the relationship between Frisian and English specifically. First of all, let's talk about the speakers. Who are the Frisians? Frisian history is long, complicated, and not fully documented. Here are just a few facts to bear in mind as we explore the languages. The medieval Frisian cultural and linguistic sphere extended roughly from North Holland to the Eider River in present-day Schleswig-Holstein, but apparently at some earlier point it even included a part of coastal northwest Flanders. Due to various circumstances, the Frisian world shrank and became fragmented. Frisian identity remained intact only in parts of the Frisian world, and the Frisian languages survived in even fewer areas. But wherever it did remain intact, Frisian pride and a sense of independence remained quite strong. The old Frisian rallying cry, Heala Fria Fresena, Hail Free Frisians, has become a general Frisian motto and appears in various heraldic motifs. A later Frisian tradition expresses the same ideal as rather dead than a slave. Today the saying survives in several modern Frisian varieties, such as West Frisian, Lever as slav, Southeast Frisian, Lever dood as slave, Mooring North Frisian, Lever død as slav. Similar other versions exist in North Frisian as well. In East Frisia, however, the familiar form is Lever dood as slav. Ironically, that isn't Frisian at all, but East Frisian Low Saxon, Low German. Frisian identity remained strong there long after the Frisian language itself disappeared from the region. So who are the Frisians? In simple terms, they are a people whose ancestors adapted to one of Europe's harshest coastal environment and who, despite centuries of political fragmentation and foreign rule, largely preserved a strong sense of their own identity. Nowadays, Frisian ethnicity and language are officially recognized in the Netherlands and Germany. Now to our main topic, Frisian language. There are three main groups of Frisian languages: West Frisian, East Frisian, North Frisian. Let's take a look at each. West Frisian. The native name Westerlauwers Friesk implies that the language area lies west of the Lauwers River that roughly marks the border between two Netherlands provinces, Friesland, Friesland in the west, and Groningen, Grun, Greensland in the east. But there are also speakers of it in a few villages in Groningen. There are approximately 450,000 native speakers of Frisian. It's the native language of more than 50% of Friesland's inhabitants. About 150,000 West Frisian speakers live in other Netherlands provinces. Some overseas Frisians may also speak the language. There are another 100,000 to 150,000 second language speakers. In Friesland, Frisians have the right to use their own language in certain official institutional dealings. Since 1993, West Frisian has been a required subject in Friesland's schools. In recent times, many municipalities have officially adopted Frisian place names in place of previous Dutch ones. West Frisian has considerable dialect diversity. Some island dialects can be difficult for speakers of the mainland to understand. Today, however, the standardized form based largely on Western dialects dominates education, broadcasting, and written communication. This is a part of the Netherlands where Dutch, Frisian, and Low Saxon rub shoulders and influence each other. There are even mixed varieties. Stadfries, a group of Dutch Frisian Creole dialects spoken in several cities. The counterparts of northern Germany's Missinge, German dialects with strong Low Saxon undercurrents. West Frisian literature reaches back to the late Middle Ages. Its modern literary tradition began during the Romantic period around 1800 and continues to flourish today with novels, poetry, children's books, theater, music, and a lively media presence. Being an official language of a province, West Frisian is in a rather strong position compared to other Frisian varieties. It's widely studied and used in education and the media. Let's briefly listen to someone speaking West Frisian.
Goeie, ik ben Sjoukje. Ik woon in Friesland, dat is een van de noordelijke provincies van Nederland. En in Friesland praten we Fries.
Let's cross the border to Germany. East Frisian. Now, this is where things get interesting. Embedded within the German state of Lower Saxony, the people of East Frisia, Ostfriesland, Ostfriesland in German, no longer speak the original East Frisian language. Centuries ago, they shifted to Low Saxon. But here's the fascinating part. They developed distinctive Low Saxon dialects with a strong Frisian substratum. They call these dialects Ostfriesk, East Frisian. Because of this Frisian heritage, East Frisian Low Saxon differs in many ways from other Low Saxon dialects spoken across northern Germany. Just across the border, the Dutch province of Groningen followed a remarkably similar path. It, too, was once largely East Frisian speaking before its inhabitants shifted to Low Saxon. The Groningen dialects also retain a clear Frisian substratum. The main difference is cultural. Speakers of Gronings generally don't identify as Frisians in the way people in today's East Frisia do. In fact, there once was an almost continuous Frisian-speaking belt stretching along the North Sea coast from the Netherlands into what is now Germany. Wherever Frisian disappeared, it left traces in the local Low Saxon dialects. But don't conclude that East Frisian itself has disappeared. It survives, spoken today by about 2,000 people. But not in East Frisia. Instead, it is found about 100 kilometers farther south in the district of Clovenborg. In the 11th century, repeated storm surges and flooding prompted groups of East Frisians to leave their homeland. They settled in what is now Saterland, Zeelteland in Frisian. The settlements were surrounded by marshes and bogs, and for centuries were often accessible only by boat. Today, this is the home of Zuid-Frisian, also known as Saterland Frisian, or simply Zeeltesk in the language itself. The language is unmistakably Frisian, although it has considerable Low Saxon and, more recently, German influence. Zuid-Frisian is officially recognized as a minority language. It's featured in local schools, public signage, literature, and occasionally in local media. Let's listen in.
Herst von Kessine lechte Sima. Do blede Fahl vom Wind verwaait, die Herststorm will verdieven. Lei Bruch und Wöst gungt hiet on, wird blöid let hinus dieven. Vorbei ju fluche Sommertied, so kries und kalt ist Bute, do Wolken tjustig luke. Die Winter kommt mit Schnee und Frost, begräft verfräsene Reste. Jo Grunde halt den Wintersleib, to neue Vorjes Kräfte.
Leaving Saterland behind, let's return to the coast. We follow the shoreline north until we reach Germany's northernmost Frisian homeland, North Frisia, North Friesland in German, North Frisian in North Frisian. We are in the northernmost corner of beautiful Schleswig-Holstein, the lower part of the Jutland Peninsula, land between North Sea and Baltic Sea, Germany's state with the largest number of indigenous languages and multilingual inhabitants. And now things are getting really interesting and complicated. North Frisian. As you can tell by the many different native names of this language or group of languages, there are quite a few varieties. Some consider them dialects, while others consider at least some of them distinct languages. It may be somewhat safe to consider them two languages, mainland North Frisian and island North Frisian. In fact, they began with two migration waves. Some Frisians colonized the islands around the year 800 CE, while other Frisians arrived on the mainland and the Hallig Islands around the year 1100 CE. Mainland North Frisian. There are 7 Frisian varieties on the mainland, dialects if you will. This includes the varieties spoken on the Halligen, small islands without protective dikes. The Böckingharde or mooring variety is often used to represent North Frisian as a whole. There's a mooring Frisian primary school, and the dialect is frequently used in various media. Let's listen to a bit of Böckingharde or mooring North Frisian.
Men Tati was ein plus større. Hij ook oudere Jona en Il. Så det kom ons voor de volk, ook from volk.
Island North Frisian. Island North Frisian is the result of earlier migration, which makes them pretty different from the mainland varieties. Traditionally spoken on Germany's northernmost island, Sylt, Sylt Frisian, Söldring, is in some ways pretty divergent in both phonology and vocabulary. It has absorbed particularly strong Danish influences, both South Jutlandish, Sønderjysk, and Standard Danish, Rigsdansk. These days, many speakers of this variety no longer live on the island, which is a very popular and gentrified vacation spot. Let's listen to Sylt Frisian.
Sajacht høm Slesvig-Holstein. De Friesk mø Söldring. Lesen van Marie.
Goddag, ik ben Marie. Nachrichten en Ditsklan heeft het Zaffußbroken op Jens der bis in Schleswig-Holstein.
In fact, Danish has been quite influential in Schleswig-Holstein. The farther north, the stronger. This is because the German-Danish border kept changing up and down, and for a while Danish rule reached all the way down to the gates of Hamburg. So we have Frisian, Low Saxon, South Jutlandish traditionally influencing each other, and later to be overlaid by Danish on German. Oh, one type of North Frisian still needs to be mentioned. Heligoland Frisian, Hallunder. Being located on an island far out of the Elbe Delta, it's separated from the other varieties. Its situation is unique in other ways too. In the 19th century, Great Britain controlled the island, the Athlone, German Helgoland, for 83 years. The language absorbed quite a bit of English influence then, in addition to ongoing Low Saxon influence. After World War II, British forces used the evacuated island for bombing practice and demolished many of its military installations. Much of the island lay in ruins. Not everyone returned. This was a huge blow to Frisian language and culture. But there are still about 500 Frisian speakers left, keeping it up despite the island's tourism business. All North Frisian language varieties are endangered to one degree or another, but there are valiant efforts to keep them alive in schools, literature, and the electronic media, much of it thanks to the North Frisian Institute. What's special about Frisian? Frisian has far too many special features to mention even the most striking ones in this introduction. One thing I find remarkable about West Frisian is that, despite being overshadowed by Dutch for many centuries, it has retained the informal second-person singular. In contrast, Dutch replaced the original singular pronoun with a form derived from the Old Plural, much as English replaced thou with you. A prominent phonological feature is a historical one. Initial K became affricated T, and later S, and in East Frisian it turned to T. Here's a good example. For cheese, Old Frisian kaas, West Frisian sees, North Frisian sees, South Frisian Käse or Thijs. This is similar to Old English Käse or Käse becoming cheese. In all other West Germanic languages, the K sound didn't change. Talking about English, what about its relation to Frisian? Brea, Butter, and cheese. Yeah, it's exactly what you think it means. The idea of an Anglo-Frisian branch, that the ancestors of English and Frisian shared a period of common development after separating from the other West Germanic languages, has been influential for over a century. While not universally accepted today, there are several linguistic arguments in its favor. Although it's rarely mentioned, historians and linguists pretty much agree that Frisians were among the Germanic peoples who participate in the settlement of Britain. Old English and Old Frisian were quite closely related, but so was Old Saxon to a degree. Some linguists therefore prefer to speak of an Anglo-Frisian branch. Others argue for a broader North Sea Germanic or Ingvaeonic branch that also includes Old Saxon. Either way, Frisian occupies a uniquely close position to English within the West Germanic group. So, what's your impression? Have you learned anything from this presentation? Hopefully you now appreciate the Frisian languages, their steadfast, proud speakers, and their tough ancestors. At least you now know that the Frisian languages form an independent group within the West Germanic family, aren't dialects of Dutch or German, nor varieties of Low Saxon or English. If you wish to learn more about Frisian, there are quite a lot of printed and electronic resources, even online and in-person courses, wonderful gateways into the Frisian world, the true essence of the continental North Sea coastline. If you enjoyed this video, pass it on to others. Give it a thumbs up and feel free to leave a comment. Also find some links in the description below. This has been brought to you by aliīs vōcibus, where we explore lesser known and misunderstood languages that deserve to be known. Do check the description below to find a link to the playlist. Hoi, ciao, arwell.